Greetings, Star Wars Nation, and welcome to World Reviews. And today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite Star Wars books. Now, this list was designed for those of you guys that might not be an everyday reader or might not know much about our Star Wars universe. That's okay, I got you guys. So sit down, buckle up, and hit that hyperdrive because World Reviews starts now. Alright, boys and girls, my name is Bro, and I'm gonna give you my top 5 Star Wars books starting from number 5 all the way to number 1. And number 5 is the book of Ahsoka. Ahsoka has been a character from the Clone Wars. She was not very beloved in the beginning of the series because, they gave Anakin a Padawan and we never seen that in the Star Wars universe or even in the movies. And so when Ahsoka came into the scene, she was not very liked by many, and that's me included. But quickly, Ahsoka began to win the hearts of our Star Wars fans, and seeing the growth of her in the Clone Wars and even in Rebels. And honestly, if you want to see what happens after the Clone Wars, they gave us a really nice kind of picture of what Ahsoka went through as she was away and alone from Anakin and the Jedi Order. And the audiobook is voiced by Ashley Einstein, and she did a beautifully job in voicing Ahsoka. So this is the reason why it's my number 5 pick. Number 4 is Dark Disciple, and I really enjoyed this book because even though it takes kinda in the place of the prequels, they give us these two interesting characters, their relationship, the mission they must go into so that they can accomplish one common goal. And yes, even though Ventress does come out in the Clone Wars and you kind of see, this other Jedi character in the prequels, or you kind of get to see him, but you don't know much about him. In this book, they really go into depth about these two characters. So even if you have never seen the Clone Wars or even seen the prequels, if you know what a Sith is or a Jedi is, you're really gonna enjoy this book for what they brought in these two characters. We do hear about Obi-Wan, we do hear a little bit about the Jedi Order and some of the, characters that we got to see in previous episodes of the Clone Wars, but it doesn't take away for who these two characters are in the book. So even if you've never seen any of that, I think you will enjoy this book by itself. And honestly, get the audiobook. I can't emphasize, even for any of the books, get the audiobook because it's just hearing the music, hearing the voices just brings a little bit something more to this book. So this is the reason why for me it's a number 4 pick. Number 3 is Leia, Princess of Alderaan, and I really enjoyed this book because we get to see her relationship with her parents. This book takes place before New Hope. We get to see how Leia is coping with her responsibilities as a princess and possibly in the future become Queen of Alderaan. She knows who she is. She knows she's adopted, spoiler alert, but she finds out who she is and what's her role in the universe, in the rebellion, in the empire. And I really think they portray her character very well. I think Claudia Gray did a good job in showing us something that we've never seen in Leia before, her years before meeting Luke and going into that adventure or losing her parents, losing Alderaan. And so we get to see a lot of the Alderaan culture. We get to see how things are in government, what is expected of her. So if you have not read this book, I recommend you guys to read it because it gives us more of who Leia is as a person. And so for that, this is my number 3 pick. And number 2 is Star Wars Bloodline by Claudia Gray. She gives us a great portrayal of a mature Leia, who she is as a wife, as a leader, as a mother, and how she's trying to juggle all these things as she's trying to become a chancellor for the new republic, and how people just betray Leia. Those that we thought were her friends are actually her enemies. How, in a regular circumstance for anybody, that person would have broken down. But Leia just keeps going forward, and how it does hint out big time that she's a Force user. So if you're a fan of Claudia Gray or a fan of Leia, you're really gonna enjoy this book of Bloodline. And so for that, this is my number 2 pick. And number 1 is Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. She does an amazing job by giving us these two awesome characters named Thane and Sienna, and how they both get caught in opposite sides of this big galactic war. One of them joins the Empire, believing they're against terrorism, rebels, and the other one joins the rebellion, believing the Empire is evil. And so now the relationship gets caught and strained because one wants to pull the other one to their side. We also see a lot of new places, new planets like Jellican, and we find out different things about different cultures, essentially expanding the Star Wars universe. And so Claudia Gray does a great job for those of you guys that don't know much about the Star Wars universe, humanizing, the Star Wars characters, humanizing both sides of the war. And so if you have not read this, please pick it up, because I really believe that if anything, if you're a reader or not a reader, if you're a Star Wars fan or not a Star Wars fan, this is where you should start, by reading Lost Stars, and this is why it's my number 1 pick. Alright, boys and girls, so those are my top 5 favorite books from Star Wars, and I hope you guys enjoy it, especially because I have a lot of Claudia Gray. I really believe she gets the Star Wars universe, she gets the journey of every character, she gets where all of this takes place and how everything relates, makes it canon. And so I hope you guys at least pick up Lost Stars, because it just gives us a nice picture of what the universe is going through as the rebellion and the Empire going into war. I do have 2 memorable mentions, and one of them is Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad. Now we get to find out who Iden Versio is, her relationship with her father, her relationship with her mother, how she's been brought up as a young child to believe the Empire is good. We get a lot of nail-biting missions here, and we get to find out how Inferno Squad came to be about. I do want to let you guys know that the 3rd act of this book is a little bit dry. I feel like it takes too long, but overall it gives us a nice closure into what's going to happen in the video game. And the second memorable mention is Catalyst Rogue One. I really feel like this book should have been its own crawl paragraph for the movie, because a lot of what happens in this book, we kind of jump into the movie without knowing who are these people. In the movie they try to explain a little bit of Jyn Erso's dad and what he does, but this book really goes into depth into Jyn's mom and father and the relationship with Krennic and building the Death Star and using kyber crystals, and all of that is very interesting. So I really enjoyed this book, but I really wish this book would have been made into a crawl so we would have gotten it in Rogue One. But overall it's a really enjoyable book, so this is my second memorable mention. Just like I have memorable mentions, there are also books that I dislike, and not everything that Star Wars puts out there has been gold, and those books have been the Aftermath series by Chuck Wendig. To be honest, the first book is terrible. I really believe that the second book and the first book should have just been one, and like that, the third book should have just built out of these 2 books. Altogether, this series is just a 6, probably a 5 out of 10, that even. We do get some cameos from my favorite Star Wars characters, but even that couldn't save what happens here. And I guess the whole gimmick was that we're gonna get to find out what happens in Jakku, and even that, it was kind of absurd, didn't make any sense. And so I really dislike this whole series of Aftermath, and if you can just avoid reading them, just don't read them. And another book that I really dislike is The Last Jedi. Now with this book, I don't understand what they were trying to do to us fans. They added a lot of dialogue, they added a lot of scenes that you don't see in the movie, and I guess maybe they tried to fix the tragedy that is The Last Jedi. This is what makes me dislike the movie even more, because I feel like they were trying to backpedal in a lot of the things that we saw in the movie by putting them here. And so now I'm confused. Are the books canon? Are the books not canon? Because according to Pablo Hidalgo, so it was in a Twitter, that the movies, triumph over the books. But then why would you put stuff in the books that are not going to be considered canon? Or why even erase legends and say that, you know, whatever happened in the past, whatever we say in legends is no longer canon, when they don't even, I guess, align their movies with the book? And so for that, okay, I'm just gonna pause here. But overall, even reading the book or hearing on audio, because I read the book and put the audio together, so it might seem a little bit interesting. The book is boring. The audio is boring. And that's the reason why I really dislike this book. So you should not even read it. You should not hear the audio. The audio will not make this book better. It just makes it more boring and depressing. And if you already were angry about The Last Jedi, this is just gonna add the cherry on top. But what did you guys think about my book selection? Remember, this is for those of you guys that are not very much of a reader type of person or don't know much about the Star Wars universe, and just to get you guys interested more in this wonderful world of Star Wars. Comment below, let us know what is your list, what are your favorite books. Maybe there are things that I haven't read that you guys really enjoyed, did not make it into this list. But thank you guys once again. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Like always, can't wait to guys have it back here at Roro Reviews.